Hello, welcome to this taste challenge. We have two American whiskeys. Hold on. American whiskeys. The first was introduced in 1964. Okay. This is George Dickel Superior Recipe number 12. No age statement. It might be deceptive in a way, making you think it's 12 years age, but it is not. 45% alcohol. It's filtered through sugar maple charcoal. It is from Tullahoma, Tennessee. Cascade Hollow Distilling Company, handcrafted small batch, not that small. Company founded 1870, finest quality sipping whiskey. Sour Mash. And it is a type of bourbon, but Tennessee people don't want to hear that, but well, that's too bad. Okay, BC's Beer Reviews. Good evening, Ron. Good evening to you, BC. And guess what I watched a little while ago? Guess what I watched? Natural Light. I watched it. Somebody made a video for Natural Light, and I watched it. Okay. Well, we have here Jesse James, America's Outlaw Bourbon Whiskey. This is a 2-year aged. Now, the website's showing 3-year age, and most of the videos I watch are showing 3-year age. But this is the 2-year age version because it says this whiskey is at least 24 months old, bottled in California, Mira Loma, California. All right. Distilled to perfection, old-time charcoal mellowed and aged in oak casks to achieve an incredibly smooth and full bourbon character. It makes this one of the finest whiskeys. Wow, one of the finest. Only $18. Hard to believe, huh? But I got it for $7.99 for the liter. True story, $7.99 for the liter. My video. Thank you so much, Ron. You're welcome. Y'all better go watch BC's beer reviews, and I'm not joking about that. All right. Established in 1882. Wrong. Established in 2011. That's the biggest bunch of hooey. Jesse James, that criminal, was murdered in 1882, all right? But this particular whiskey hit the market in 2011. So I guess it was aging from 09 to 11, all right? Jesse James Dupree was, had a small following in his music career, and now he's probably making a lot more money doing, selling apparel, glassware, all kind of stuff, including whiskey. He has whiskey made for him. And I didn't realize that Blue Chair Bay rum was made for Kenny Chesney, and James P. Madonna brought that to Fandango Friday last night. He loved it. He gave it like almost 100 out of 100. And I said, yes, the company's 100% owned by Kenny Chesney, a country music singer. I don't follow that, but nothing against it. But now, does Kenny Chesney own distilleries? Does Jesse James Dupree own distilleries? They don't. They're just paying somebody to make it for them, but it's still independent companies, independent bottling. Now, and they say, make it this way, make it taste like this or that, and so forth. Like James P. Madonna said, but how long? How long till they get bought out? I said, well, they get bought out, And Jimmy Buffett, he's got his own Margaritaville line that's all sourced. And the flavored beers, those were kind of bland, but the Land Shark Lager, the unflavored regular lager, that's contract brewed by Anheuser-Busch, that's pretty good stuff. And kind of overpriced, but you know, you're paying for the name and whatnot. Oh man, I can't get this straight. I'm not gonna keep pouring it until I get these glasses full. Looks like the American Outlaw Bourbon is a little darker. So I paid $12.50 for the Dickel number 12, and I'm not kidding about that. That's the truth. At Walmart, I don't know why they had it for half price. It's usually $25. They had it for $12.50. And I bought it, and I bought the rye, and it was the same price, $12.50. How are you doing, buddy? I'm drunk. Oh well, I'm sorry. Silver River American Vodka. Yeah, we don't encourage heavy drinking on this channel, actually. Are these supposed to be like Jack Daniels? Says wings and pizza. Yeah, especially the Dickel, because it's from Tennessee. It's sour mash. It's mellowed and sugar maple charcoal. It's very similar to Jack Daniels. It's a competitor, probably the number one Tennessee competitor, whiskey competitor to Jack Daniels. But really, it's small. I mean, as big as it is, and George Dickel is no joke. It's a big whiskey brand. But compared to Jack Daniels, it's a small whiskey brand. Jesse James Spirits is really small, but you'll see it around. Like I saw today, Blue Chair Bay Rum. Blue Chair Bay Rum. Saw it today. And I would try this, you know, the white rum, the unflavored. I would try the flavored if, you know, I find a small bottle. Okay, so George Dickel, recipe number 12, introduced in 1964, along with the number 8 recipe. Those were the two they introduced in 64. They had been making a whiskey for a long time called George Dickel Cascade Whiskey. Cascade Whiskey, but they replaced it. They rebranded it. Maybe, you know, I don't know if they changed everything, but they came out with the number 8 and 12 in 1964, and it got more popular. They made Cascade Hollow for a while. I have a bottle of that, the red label. I thought it was back from 2003. Turns out it was only introduced in 2016. It was recent. They say they're not making it right now. But so George Dickel 12 overview. You know, as always, they're going to say, you know, we blend older whiskeys to achieve deep, assertive flavors with an incredibly smooth finish. Bold and brazen, this is our recipe number 12. Concentrated flavors of rich oak and subtle vanilla lead to long finish with hints of maple, butter, and smoke. A whiskey with enormous depth, range, and personality, considered by many to be the gold standard of Tennessee whiskey. Mash bill. Okay, mash bill. 84% corn. I'm not going to put that in the notes, but you can look at the link below and you can click on the website. 84% corn, 8% rye, and 8% malted barley. And a number 2 head, but a number 4 barrel. The head is the, you know, the top and bottom. So number 4 char, heavily charred, alligator char. So 84% corn, 8% rye, 8% malted barley. Very interesting. Jesse James, no details except we know it's aged 2 years and it's filtered through charcoal and it's mellowed in new oak barrels. It's bourbon. It has to be new oak. Fun with Whiskey says cheers. Kevin Johnston says, hey, Jay, what is your thoughts on Brittany Griner getting 9 years in a Russian prison? I mean, it's all politics, you know. Geopolitics, you know what I mean? Geopolitical stuff. It's rich charred oak here. Rich charred oak. Corn, sugar water, honeysuckle nectar. I mean, bourbon has a lot of common nose and taste, you know, aromas and flavors, no matter what the brand is. You say, well, what's the worst brand? I don't know. I think the worst brand is pretty good, probably. Okay. Much milder in the nose, much milder. Very faint, everything I just described. I think it's got to be the Jesse James, and I'm going to call it on aroma only. This is the Jesse James. And I got it, and I've only gotten one wrong. So now I've got what? 6 correct and 1 failure. 6 right and 1 wrong. Well, let's go with the taste. So I got this one on aroma only. I was so confident, maybe overconfident, but Thomas Meadow 75, Massachusetts Beer Reviews, says Jesse James is bottom shelf liquor. Oh, well, have you had it? I assumed it was because I only paid $7.99 for the liter, but it's normally about $18, which I wouldn't call bottom shelf. Come walk in my shoes and I'll show you some bottom shelf. Okay, where you scored a Jesse James, Ron, winning some pizza. Well, I'm about to tell you, it's more than we know. We can only conjecture on it. At least you're not drinking Poland Spring vodka. I never had Poland Spring. I'd try it, but I'm sure. Wayne Franklin said, did Brittany Griner actually complain that the Russians didn't read her rights, or was that just a joke? I hope it was a joke. The worst brand is the brand that you do not like. It's different for different people. I can't pick good at all, says Fun with Whiskey. Fun with. Well, let's see right now. So we know which is which. Baseball's starting. I got to go. I think the 90 proof gave it away on the aroma. A lot of corn. They say 84% corn. It's a lot of corn. Sweet corn. Kind of like corn nuts. You know the bag snacks they sell called corn nuts. Those are salty, not sweet. Rye and barley malt. Well, you see, those are so blended in, and like they're saying, they blend old whiskeys together. You say, well, then that makes George Dickel a blended whiskey. It's blended in that sense that it's a blend of bourbon whiskeys, Tennessee whiskeys, but it's still bourbon. But it's not a blended whiskey in the United States government legal sense. Well, it could be actually because the only requirement is that it has to be at least 20% straight whiskey. It could be straight corn whiskey, straight bourbon, doesn't matter. And it could be up to 80% grain spirits. But it doesn't have to be. You see what I mean? It has to be at least 20%. That's the minimum. It could be no grain spirits. But then you see, nobody's going to call it that because that's considered like a cheaper product. So they're going to call it a blend of bourbons, not necessarily straight bourbon, but hell, you know, what difference does it make? It's Tennessee whiskey, but they're different age groups blended together. And I'm pretty sure that the Jesse James Dupree American Outlaw Whiskey is a blend of various bourbons from around the United States that they probably got on a good deal. And that's why it's not called Kentucky whiskey or Missouri whiskey or Tennessee whiskey. It's just called bourbon. There's no specific state because probably not coming from a specific state. All we know is it's bottled in California, which is fine. It's legal. It's allowed. Dickel. Yeah, but you see, the Dickel has that weird little, I keep saying that Flintstone vitamin flavor, and that is strange, but I said that, and I did not copy off of what I read from somebody. I said this over a year ago. I said, what is this Flintstone vitamin flavor? And I thought, you've gone crazy, you know. I said, okay. So I started reading written reviews on distiller.com and whatnot. And about 4 or 5 other people said the same thing, and maybe on Google reviews, same thing. They said, what's with this weird Flintstone vitamin flavor? I said, oh, I had it right. And I'm not saying it's a bad flavor. It's just a strange flavor. It's, if you want to call it unique, okay. To me, it's sort of aberrant, but I'm happy with George Dickel. Superior number 12 recipe. I've got 20% of the bottle. No, more than that. 25% of the bottle left. It's been doing well. It's been nice. 90 proof. Well, hey, that's what Jack Daniels used to be. 90 proof until 1987. Jesse James. All right, you say it's bottom shelf. I don't agree. It's not on the bottom shelf. It's not, maybe it's second to the bottom. When I saw it, it was on a stud stack, up by the checkout. $7.99 a liter. But I don't pay much mind to that anyway, because I was looking at a Scotch whiskey today that's bottom shelf, John Barr. I saw it. Nice new label, John Barr. Saw a whole bunch of it at Dorgnax today. And I said, that's good Scotch. Blended, John Barr. Is it expensive? No. Is it good? Oh, yeah. I'd like to try the 12-year age, but I don't think I'm going to ever see it. There's a travel exclusive that you can buy at the airport, but, I'm not going to see that. And if I did, I'd probably hate the price and wouldn't buy it. This has a very creamy flavor. You say creamy is not a flavor. It's a cream. Cream has a flavor. And a mouthfeel. So I like Jesse James a lot. It's 80 proof. It's only aged 2 years, but like I said, most bottles you're going to find is 3-year age. Still not a lot, but it's more than the minimum, which is 2 for straight bourbon. But it's not called straight bourbon because I think it's coming from different states, which would disqualify for that. It's real pleasant. We don't know the mash bill, but I would just try it. I would try it. I don't know. I wouldn't pay more than $20, but I would try it. If you see it for 18, yeah. If you see a liter like I got for $7.99, oh yeah. Same thing with George Dickel. Is it worth $24? $25? Yeah, it is. But when you see it for $12.50, it's really worth it. Okay. What is that? Okay. Is George Dickel better? Yeah. It has a fuller flavor, a more roasted flavor, because that's coming from that number 4 char, the alligator char, the thickest char. It's got a lot of wood, a lot of body, and many, many different intricacies. That's not their highest level, no. Look at their website now. They got so many new offerings. The new George Dickel Kentucky Bourbon Whiskey with the gold label, with the black writing, and so many others. But I cannot try everything. I mean, it's like an endless supply. So I have to say, okay, well, I'll just deal with these right now. And if you came and looked up on those shelves in the other room, you'd be like, we need to do an intervention. You need help. I do need help drinking it, but then I don't want help because then people will be taken away from my taste challenges. So I don't want help. But it's like a decades-long project. If you saw what I have, you say, oh, it's going to take 20 years. And I believe it would. It will, or whatever happens. So George Dickel, a sure shot winner. Now, I'm going to read the comments. Don't worry, I will. Jesse James. Okay. I like that little creaminess, though. And nougat, like the Three Musketeers bar. But it's very mild. Okay, if you say, oh, well, it's kind of bland. I'll tell you what, when I was doing Jesse James American Outlaw Bourbon versus all the others, I was looking for the heavy char because I was noticing that it had a pretty heavy char relative to the other ones. But now it's got nothing. It's like there's no charred taste. Because why? Because the George Dickel is so extraordinarily heavily charred, and that's their whole game plan. It tells you about that on the bottle and the website, that they char it to the maximum extent. They go buck wild with it. So it's going to override anything that you thought was heavy char. Yeah. So, okay, fair enough. You might say, but it's Diageo. It's a huge company, multinational. They own Johnny Walker. They own Zacapa rum. They own Guinness beer. They own Crown Royal, of all things. Huge whiskey brand. Huge whiskey company, really. J&B, and so I know that. Okay, I understand. They're huge. They're large. They produce a lot of whiskey. They produce thousands of wines, or at least have them made for them. All this beer, Smithwick's, and Harp, and everything. I don't care. I just taste the products, okay? That's all I can do. If it's macro, middle crow, or micro. And then I'll tell you what I think. That's all I can do. We tasted some really super micro beers today. I mean micro like you ain't going to ever see it. From Louisiana. Okay. And that was a huge controversy. It was like a lot of anger or something with it. My friend David and I, it was like this big blow up, So then, and it just kept going on and on. And then we did a macro, a major macro, light lager. And we both agreed it was so much better, So it's it does require an ability to have a sense of detachment. You have to be able to detach yourself from if it's macro, middle crow, or micro. If not, you get caught up in what I mean is you start letting the theoretical aspect of it impact your tasting impression of it. And I don't think you should do that. You should say, okay, well, whoever makes it, whatever their political stance is, whatever their cultural stance, whatever their size and all that, you just say, what are the qualities of the product at hand? And I think that's the best approach. Jesse James, it's small. It's not widespread. Most people are not going to see it. You say, well, it's a craft whiskey. Well, I don't know what that word means really anymore. So let's just say it's a small company. It's very nice. Some people would prefer the mellow aspects. They would find the Dickel's too strong, it's too harsh, it's just too much. They would say, oh, I can't stand it, But then the Jesse James, they would say, oh, I like it so mild, so pleasant, so mellow. It's like music. Some people will say, I want the heaviest heavy metal, It's got to be heavy, it's got to be strong, it's got to be loud, whatever. Okay, well, go listen to it. Other people say, I like the Carpenters. And then other people ridicule them. How dare you like the Carpenters? Rainy days and Mondays always bring me down. What's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with the people. That's what they like. And don't be mad because you're jealous that she's sitting on top of the world looking down on creation. All right, now, so let's see what the comments say. So which one do I prefer? In my personal experience here at this exact present time, in my personal experience, I prefer the George Dickel. I think it's more developed, more elaborate, and all of that. So I prefer the George Dickel. You say, well, it's macro. Okay, all right, but I prefer it. But the Jesse James is very nice, within reason. Progressive discussions. James P. Madonna, who I was just talking about earlier, in a good way, by the way. He says, greetings. If it's organic, non-GMO corn nuts. Otherwise, I'm good at making popcorn on the stove the old-fashioned way. My friend David does that. He makes popcorn on the stove with a pot. Do I like corn nuts? Oh, you were asking James. Okay. Or maybe me. I like them okay. I never eat them, maybe once a decade. True story. I like the occasional Gentleman Jack on the rocks. You know what? I've never really had Gentleman Jack. I had an ounce, like literally 1 ounce of it at the distillery. Not a good deal. By the time you got a taste, it was gone. I mean, you couldn't really give an adequate evaluation of it. I mean, I paid $17. Who knows what it would cost now? 5 years ago, I paid $17 to take a tour. I mean, the tour was good. I'm not saying it. The tour was nice. It was very nice. It was excellent, really. But the sampling was a joke. They give you 1 ounce of Jack Daniels, 1 ounce of Gentleman Jack, 1 ounce of Jack Daniels honey, and 1 ounce of the cinnamon. The Jack Daniels, well, whatever it's called, it's trying to mimic Fireball, which is the #1 cinnamon flavored whiskey, and that's from Sazerac. I mean, you can't even hardly get any kind of assessment from that little minuscule amount. I said, oh man, what's wrong with these people? But I didn't say anything. I was just thinking to myself, the gift shop was very nice and expensive. Okay, let's look at the rest of the comments. I think people tend to get similar flavors. Good evening, Ron, says BC Beer Reviews. I do not know the difference between top and bottom shelf, truly. As long as it tastes good, it's top shelf to me. Well, top shelf is going to cost you $300 a bottle. Bottom shelf will cost you $8.99 a bottle. Big difference. But the important question is, like you're saying, but if I'm buying something from the bottom shelf, like Canadian Hunter, very popular whiskey, I might add. You say, what? Is it any good? And like somebody said earlier, if it's good to you, then it's good. If you like it, it's good. Doesn't matter what your friends or your enemies or your acquaintances or your family say. If they say, oh, Busch Light, oh, I'd never drink that. Oh, etc., etc., and etc. Well, if you like Busch Light, drink it. I know a guy, I work with a guy. He loves Busch Light. He's always talking. I overhear him in the background saying, going home, I got my Busch Light. And I'm thinking, wow, it's amazing, But I mean, I'm saying that to myself. I'm not saying it out loud. I'm just thinking, Busch Light, well, I can't wait to get home for that. Because it's kind of bland, like my daughter said, it tastes like corn chips. But he loves it. He loves it. Oh, he's tasting it while he's at work for 8 hours. He's like, I can't wait to get home. Get that Busch Light. So we can ridicule that, but I can assure you he doesn't care. So if he likes it, it's good. What's going on, James? How you doing? Says BC. And I think James left the premises. He just checked in and said hello. B Aviation says, hey, Ron, hey to you. Well, a lot of people do. They don't watch the whole video, but no big deal. All right, so final assessment. I got to check this off. This is going to count for a future date. I've already done Saturday. I already planned, but I was planning this. So, okay, it's going to count for that day. So when that day comes, I'm not going to do a whiskey review or taste challenge, and that is the truth. Well, George Dickel is very good. It's a quality product. It's on par with the George Dickel number 12. So, yeah, I would say it's on par with the Gentleman Jack, which is sort of like an above premium Jack Daniels. Although if you read about it carefully, it shouldn't be a below premium. But yeah, it's fine. It's worth it. If you're gonna get what you pay for it. You're gonna pay for it, and you're gonna get the value. You are going to get the Dodgers, and I'm missing it. It's already been on for 14 minutes, and I'm doing whiskey, and I'm missing the game. It's sickening. All right, I watched all the highlights this morning. That's some good highlights too. Jesse James, you're not going to win any friends and influence any people with this, okay? You know, you're not going to make friends and influence people. But on the other hand, it's a nice little product. In my case, I got a whole liter for $7.99, so it's a nice kind of big product. But yeah, I'm kind of happy. I'm actually very happy with it. And if you look at the man's website and his videos, he seems like a pretty nice guy. Like, he's not pretentious like a jerk. He's not content to be a jerk. So, yeah. The winner, though, but the winner, we're gonna call a winner. The winner is the Dickel 12 year, not 12 year. Oh, where did that come from? You say it's 90 proof. You've been drinking, yeah. The Superior number 12 recipe. It's the winner, and I got it right. Oh, Progressive Discussions. James P. Madonna says, I was never a fan of sentimental, sappy songs or ballads. Neither me, really. But Karen Carpenter had a fantastic, natural, one-of-a-kind, angelic voice that I greatly admired. Yes, her voice was unreal. What is called what's the name of that voice? It's not mezzo soprano. Mezzo soprano is like the next to deepest voice, like Grace Slick with Jefferson Starship. Pretty great voice. But Karen Carpenter had that quintessential fabulous voice. The great, like if you look up on the internet, great voice, Karen Carpenter comes up. Soprano, yes, but a female, obviously it's a female. But it's called something. It's called oh golly, alto soprano. Alto soprano. No, it's oh well, whatever it's called. She had a great voice, and it was like distinctive, and it was unreal. And she started playing drums. She was doing live videos playing drums when she was 16 years old. 18. Well, okay, 18 years old. Unreal. And she was a drummer. She said, "I'm a drummer and I sing a little bit." And the record company said, "No, you need to give up the drums. We want you out front." And that kind of discouraged her, because she wanted to play drums. And they said, "No, we want you to sing." And then she went crazy, like mentally ill with some kind of bizarre idea that she was overweight, which if you look at any photo of her in her entire life, you would never think she's overweight. And only a maniac would think that. She went mad and she died at 32 years old. I don't even like to talk about it. It's upsets me so bad that I can't even talk about it. And my mother, I remember I came home from school. My mother said, Karen Carpenter died. And I just about had a heart attack. So, I mean, I didn't know who she was that much. I just remember 5 years old hearing Top of the World. It's just like you grew up with. It's just unreal, unthinkable. Marilyn McCoo of the Fifth Dimensions had a great voice. Oh, Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr. Marilyn McCoo and the Fifth Dimension. Oh, they were great. With the this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Oh yeah, great voice. My mother had some of their albums. Yeah, they were classic. Oh well, enough of enough. But the whole point was that everybody has different tastes. Oh, I remember. I knew I'd remember. I knew it. Contralto. I knew it. CONTRALTO. Contralto. Karen Carpenter had a contralto voice. Contralto voice. Thank you. I knew it. The whiskey helped me think of it. Yeah, just think, Karen Carpenter would be 72 years old. Old? You said that's old. It's old. She could still be performing. Look at Stevie Nicks. She's older than Methuselah, and she's still doing a tour. Still doing a tour. All right. Well, held a not like Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston, what are you saying? I was a little close. Well, a little close. Alto means high. You say high. She was contralto, meaning the opposite of high. Slow. Right? Oh, baby, 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 baby. But you know that she was a female, so her low was not that low. Of course, in 2022, she could say, I don't want to get into that. Y'all know where I'm going with that. But all right. Well, thanks, and we'll be back on Sunday morning. Marilyn McCoo was able to hold the notes similar to Whitney Houston, a powerful voice. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Powerful voice. No doubt. A great classic singer. Marilyn McCoo, Billy Davis Jr., The Fifth Dimension. My mother knew all about all these light rock, soft rock. If it was soft rock, my mother knew about it. B.J. Thomas. If it was hard rock, she couldn't stand it. The Beatles, she hated the Beatles. Because in her mind, the Beatles were hard rock. I can't stand that kind of music. And the Rolling Stones, don't even mention the Rolling Stones. Oh my goodness, she couldn't stand them. But she said those people are dirty. They look dirty. They probably were dirty. All right, thanks for watching. But I have some of their albums. I have a number of their albums. All right, she always hated when I listened. What was the lead singer for Heart? Who was the lead singer for? Oh, was that Wilson? Nancy Wilson. One last bell to answer. One last egg to fry. Even though I eat 4 eggs. Oh, I ran out of eggs. I have to buy some more eggs. I think eggs are going to cost $12 an egg soon. All right. Thanks, everybody. Y'all take care now.